Hi everyone, how are you guys doing? My name is Petra and welcome to the flow state. Y'all, it's it's been a thing. But here we are. Thank you guys for coming in. If you see me look to the side, it's because I have notes. And yeah, so welcome in. Thank you guys for being here tonight. And anyway, I have a whole intro. So let me do my intro and let's go with it. So welcome to the flow state. And if you walked in here tonight, I want to say thank you for stepping in. I have a special guest. Her name is Yolanda Marie, and you can follow her at the
Hello.
Yolanda Marie channels, right? So there she is. And for anyone that's new here today, my name is Petra. I'm the founder of Petra's Divine, and I help women come back to themselves. And I see what you're not saying out loud. And tonight we're gonna see this together with Yolanda. Okay. So yeah. So she's here. Oh my gosh. This has been such a big thing happening today. And this is a beautiful conversation. Trusting your inner knowing to come back to yourself, because a lot of times we give, oh my god, a lot of times we give so much of ourselves to everything, and those little nudges that we have, that we get, uh we tend to ignore it. So we're not ignoring it today, we're having a conversation about it today. So
That's right.
Yolanda, welcome. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. It's been a long time coming. We have tried to do this a couple different times, but life has life. We're here today, right? So I'm going to dive right into the questions because we have a lot of questions. We don't have a lot of questions to cover, but because I know how you work, I want the people to get enough information. I want the people to get all that they can get from this hour, or a little bit that we may go over. So I'm going to dive right into it. And my first question to you is, which everybody's going to know from this, Yolanda, tell us who you are and what heart-centered living really means to you in your own words.
Okay, wow. Who am I? Well, I am hard to put in a box, but really I believe that we are all difficult to put in a box, especially right now. So now I would still say I'm a mom, I'm a healer, I am a retired singer, a person with a psychology degree, a retired researcher. I'm a lot of things. A lot of us are a lot of things. Right now, I would say I am living basically, and I can't help what I am. So, what I basically do is heal and activate people, and I pretty much have no choice in the matter. Okay, it is what I'm on the planet to do, and if I tried to run from it, it would find me. So,
That
that
part.
is, yeah, that exactly that part. And so now it's interesting when you pose the question, what is heart centered living? It's funny, the first thing that came to me is the operative word is living. The way that we are living on the planet is going through a change. And a lot of people are noticing a change on different levels for different reasons, and none of it's wrong. It's all okay. Whatever way the change is showing up in your life is the way it should be showing up in your life. But globally, there is a huge change happening. Okay. And so this is really what I came for. A lot of us came for, and we didn't know. I didn't realize that I would play any part directly in this until I was, 40, basically. Okay. So many of us really have no idea what is living inside of us. Now it's
Hmm.
interesting, Petra, that you mentioned notes, because I have some little handy notes here too. Okay, I didn't want to miss anything about what came through, and basically, heart-centered living is everything. That is what this transition is all about. It's where we're moving as humanity. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a channel, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. It doesn't matter if you are very religious or spiritual or what you identify as your creator. The word channel can be interpreted a lot of different ways. A minister is a channel, a preacher is a channel. We all channel things. The person who reads tarot cards is, in a way, channeling, right? Channeling energy. People who use their hands to heal are channeling. So it's not a scary thing like a lot of people think. And people across the planet are beginning to understand the many different ways that can be interpreted. So I just want to say that first, so that you can focus what I'm going to say next, because what I'm going to say next is really going to get you thinking. Okay. So, heart centered living seems like this sort of like kumbaya, woo woo, whatever in the 60s and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what we're talking about here. It's literally everything right now, especially with what's going on in the world. It's what is going to take us from where we were as humans, okay, where we were. And basically, what they're talking about, because what I'm reading from is channeled information, okay? These are the Arcturians. But again, this is wisdom. I have a lot of wisdom that comes through. So somebody else would just say this a different way. It doesn't matter. See where this rings true for you. How would you say it to yourself? That's what matters, okay? Basically, where we were, our previous scattered thoughts about what we are capable of. Okay, scattered meaning, do we even know our potential as humans? We were
Mm-hmm.
almost in kind of a dark age. All right, and this is what we're leaving right now, is kind of a dark age. And we don't really realize that yet, but the more we heal as humanity, we're going to realize the dark age we were really living in terms of the control other systems have had over us. Okay, today we're talking about women. Now, this conversation about women is really where it starts, because women are literally the birth of a planet. Women are fertility, growth, beauty. Everywhere we go, things grow. So if someone tries to put out our lights as women, which is what has been happening, okay?
Say that again. Say that
Yeah,
again.
that's what's
Yeah.
been happening. People trying to put out our lights, and what happens when that happens, a culture cannot educate themselves. They cannot nurture themselves. They won't be well rounded because they won't feel loved. So, this happens on an individual level, but it also emanates forward into the collective. This is what's been happening. So, we got to a breaking point. Humanity is at a breaking point. I want to read a little bit more, if it's okay, Petra, about what they said. I'm going to try to make it short, and you cut me off when you need to, okay? So we don't go too long. But it's interesting what came through here. When we think or speak the word humanity, however this translates into any language, it evokes beauty, compassion, and the willingness to not only love each other, but save each other. Now, think about that for a minute. Now, that's when we hear this word humanity, or the humanity, right? Listen to how that sounds and feel how that resonates in your heart space. The word humanity is a beautiful word. It's beautiful. Now, but the minute we start to think about the individual human, the person, the community, the group, the whatever, the war, right? That, speaking of wars right now, all right? When we start to think about humans, we think of all of these negative things that are based on our experiences, our previous experiences. And that's fair, okay? That's fair, because we have been very wounded by each other and by certain systems, okay, that have been allowed to get out of control. Okay. And so I hope that's okay that I'm getting into that. It's part of my purpose. It's hard for me to ignore, but it does tie into what's happening here. Because when we think of the human, the individual, there's so much loathing. There's so much negativity from one person toward the other because of the wounding that has happened on the planet. So isn't that interesting how we differentiate the word humanity from the word human? So this is what we are about to bridge, all of us. If you stumbled onto this video, this is you. Okay, because you wouldn't have found this video unless you were ready to hear this or already feeling this in some way, already experiencing this, maybe in your personal life, because it goes always from the micro, which is within, to the macro, right? From the small to the large, and from the macro, cycling back around to the micro. So from the individual to the collective. And that's a funny word too, collective, right? That's a very cosmic sort of word, but it does mean working together in unity, is what it really means. And we don't quite understand yet how we're already doing that, number one, and how we are going to, moving forward, intentionally be doing that on purpose, knowing our power. It does start with women. It does start with women.
I like that you said that it does start with women because, like you said earlier, that we have been so, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for the good word. We have been pushed so far in the back that we forget to see our true worth and how much we contribute to everything that happens.
Yes.
Nothing happens without us. Nothing happens without us. So, in you saying that, it's like, I hope the person's really, I hope whoever's going to listen or listening now are going to have the replay, get to feel that inside. We got to start learning our worth in a whole different way. Uh, because everything is us. We carry the world and we think we don't. That's why we always feel so heavy.
Yes, exactly.
That's why we always feel so heavy. It says absolutely divine feminine true leaders. Yeah, yes, 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 we are. And it's beautiful that people are starting to see that and know it, not just believe that is the thing that's happening. It's not just a movement, you know?
It's right.
It's not just a movement. So that was question one. Honey, where are we gonna be? So thanks everyone that's tuning in. Beautiful question, beautiful answer to question one. So question number two, and I love how this is flowing because we get to get all of it. We get to get all of it.
Yeah.
Question number two. Oh my God, I don't even want to ask this question anyway. Anyway, I have too many questions. Let's see which one I should ask. Um, so the disconnect. And I'm starting with this part of it, the disconnect. A lot of us are disconnected from, excuse me, who we truly are because of culture, because of inherited roles, because of identities that we either choose to hold on to, not hold on to, given, and just because of a lot of different things. So the disconnect. What does it actually feel like in the body when someone is disconnected from their inner knowing, even
Oh
if
my
they cannot
goodness.
name it?
This is good. So, okay, first of all, it can lead to depression, and you don't always know that you're depressed. So be aware of that. Depression can just be pulling in from things that bring you joy, needing to escape to be able to refill your cup in private a lot. You know, it can turn into social anxiety. All right. And by the way, some of these symptoms also are going to be symptomatic of, or indicative rather, of the change that's happening on the planet as well. You may be becoming more sensitive also to what's happening on the planet because of this shift, because we're all connected. So just to be aware of that, okay? Somebody needed to hear that. So if you're feeling really, really sensitive or emotional, or you're feeling pangs in your gut when you're in society, you know, that where you typically wouldn't have felt that way before, you could be getting more energetically sensitive to those around you, which isn't a bad thing. The frequency on the planet is changing right now, and it is changing rapidly. And you will evolve with it. Don't be afraid, but do be aware that some of these things may be happening and they might present that way. They could also present like illnesses. Okay.
Mm.
So, yeah. So, disclaimer, we are not medical professionals, or at least we're not acting as such in this capacity. We have to say that stuff for legalese, right? But now, getting that out of the way, see your physician if you feel you need to. Please follow your intuition. But yeah, a lot of this shift that's happening on the planet, and we won't get into what all that is, but you could feel evidence of that in your body. It could present as an illness. Okay. Anything from indigestion to a migraine to something even, unfortunately, it could start to feel like something more serious, and that is where you do want to be careful and see your physician, of course. Okay. um wow, so that needed to be said because that kind of came out of nowhere. Somebody needs to hear that. Okay. So yeah, pay attention to your bodies. Now, what does it feel like when you are feeling disconnected? You might feel a kind of numbness where you once felt excitement, and where you would feel that would be in your sacral chakra. So you don't have to think of chakras if you don't want to. I typically don't really worry about chakras too much anymore. Not because they're not necessary, but because you don't have to. You can just think of your womb area. That's the area of creation. You know how when you're really excited about something, or there's some sort of desire for something, especially a physical desire, a sexual desire, you're going to feel a pang in your womb area. Okay, this is men and women. All right, so right below your navel. So if you are feeling, let's just say, numb, you're starting to feel more numb there, you're starting to feel less excitement. Okay, you might also feel less excitement in terms of your just drive. So numbness also in the area right under your heart. So it's like in between your heart and your navel, where you used to feel things. You'll stop feeling things in your body. So pay attention to that as well. So, but it's interesting. I did have some notes there. Petra, you already nailed it because pressure to fill the role is what's happening. And it's what's
Right.
happening is we're so worried often about filling this role, right? That we forget that we're supposed to be growing ourselves like flowers in the flower pot because we never stop. We're women. Men don't either. No one stops. Let me just do a side quest here. Okay, a little segue, a little quick detour. Our lifespan is about to increase. Pay attention to what I'm saying right now because this is really important. This is going to activate you into understanding that you do not have to just stop. You don't have to settle for something. You don't have to just say, oh, well, the doctor said this or somebody said that. What I'm saying here, listen, feel the truth in your body. Okay, let your cells know that you understand this so that you can stop having these illnesses and these pangs and these things going on. You guys, the life expectancy of a human, speaking of humans, and especially women, everything starts with women, it's about to increase. Women have been on the losing end of this, especially married women. All right, if we can touch on that for a minute. Not that you shouldn't get married. That's not what I'm saying. That's all shifting. Men are shifting too. It's not just
Yes.
women that are shifting. So marriages are shifting. Marriages are no longer going to do this to women. But previously, what we're leaving, what we're coming out of, women were more likely to pass away first. Okay.
Yes.
Because of that weight that you were saying, perfectly saying, we carry the weight even if we don't realize we're carrying it at the time. Completely responsible for carrying this weight. And there is there's programming that has happened. It's social programming. Petra has already said this perfectly. Social programming. There's also a biological programming passed from generation, almost like a biological memory from generation to generation. So these ideas are living inside of you and reinforced through, let's just say, maybe a marriage, even if it is a common law marriage, that's still a marriage,
Yes.
a long term partnership. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a legal marriage. But if you are acting out unconscious, subconscious social roles, then that's when these things occur. The woman is we're carrying all of the weight, and we're doing it, freely, thinking that it's our responsibility. In fact, punishing ourselves if we don't carry it properly. As a matter of fact, we're often willing to take the hit. We're literally agreeing to, I'll just take the hit and go, I'll do this for the kids. I'll take it all on my shoulders. That's been happening. I can say this from experience as well, by the way.
Yes. I remember a couple weeks ago on the podcast, we spoke about the, the wife, and the role of a wife, and how the terminology wife really came about. I mean, like we dug deep into the backstory of a wife, and what the concept of a wife in the beginning was truly a transaction. It was truly
Yeah,
financial. It
yeah,
wasn't a transaction of love,
yeah. Or it didn't
right?
have to be. Yeah,
And it didn't have to be, because it was simply a transaction between one family member to another.
yeah.
It seems crazy, but and we have learned that our needs are not important, that everything outside of us is supposed to make us feel good, and it don't. And we pretend that it does. It's gonna happen someday in our lives, and that life come and you're 70 years old and you have all these ailments because you have carried so much for so long. When are
And
you gonna give yourself the opportunity to breathe?
we haven't nurtured ourselves. I can say this from experience as well. I literally felt guilty about a vacation. That's now in hindsight, that's insanity. you know,
Yes.
and this is where we're moving from. That's the space where we look at each other and see the negative only. That's the space where and not just women, now I'm speaking about women, men, children, society in general, but this is so important to recognize because it's really the root of it. The root of all of these wounds are really a competition for resources, fight or flight, survival mode. You know, I need to survive. And so, in order for me to survive, I have to please this village. I have to please this community. I have to please my husband. And with the husband, it could also be I have to please my wife. I have to make sure, depending, that's also true. It depends. I know that's not always true. I can hear it already in the field of my consciousness. I can hear people going, that's not true. But it's true both ways for a lot of people. There are men who also have felt a big weight, who have also misunderstood the role of a woman. And many of those men are now relearning, willingly relearning. And we have to also give them a chance to do that. That doesn't mean, just give everybody a chance when they're not showing you anything. That's not what I'm saying. But think positively, in as far as the potential is concerned. Now, we don't operate off of potential. Okay, we have to say that. But just in general, it's really going to do us a lot of good in the coming years, especially the next 10 years, really the next 5, actually. But let's just, for sake of argument's sake, say let's next 10 years we have. Really start to look at your fellow human in a positive light. Try to see the best. Now, that doesn't mean take abuse. That doesn't mean take things from
I
them.
just
You can,
want to say,
right. You can see the best in somebody from across the street or down in the next state. Like that's not, but in general, try to understand the potential of humans. Now, the reason that I'm saying that is this conversation about women is going to turn into a conversation about how do we create from within. Everything starts from within. And that
Yes.
includes how we see other people. It's not really, and this is going to sound crazy, possibly, not to all of you, but to some of you, this might sound a little backwards. But because reality is created from within first, it's really not up to that neighbor, that child, that person to behave a certain way first. Now, would we love that? Of course. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Wonderful things happen every day. But the point is, if we really want all of this to change, lighten your opinion, not of the individual necessarily, but of humans in general. What are they capable of? We have to retrain
Mm.
our brains to believe that we're capable of good before we can do good. If we only think we're capable of mess, of donkey behavior, or whatever way you want to put it, then that's what we're going to get all the time from ourselves and
Right.
everybody.
Perception. Perception.
Right.
Perception. Yes. Yes. I agree with that. Perception. I think, when you are in a space where it's so many negative things that you're seeing, you have to intentionally set a positive atmosphere for yourself to really start
Yes.
seeing that shift. You really got to.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a challenge. And but like anything, a challenge you can overcome.
Yeah. And I want to
So
say,
that's
especially
really
if you're leaving an abusive situation or you're in one, that's not the situation to stay in and try to see that as positive. So I want to be clear, and I know Petra feels this way too. This is not what we're saying. Do not stay anywhere where you could be hurt, even emotionally. Emotional abuse can often be so much worse. And again, not always. Physical abuse is, of course, it's, I'm not saying one's really worse than the other. Let me clear that up. But emotional abuse can do, let me put it this way, can do more long-term damage by
oh,
far than
oh,
physical abuse. Okay.
oh,
And we're not making light of either one.
yes. Because I'm gonna
So,
tell you something about that mental. If you don't correct that mental, it stay with you for your lifetime. That physical may go, but
but
I
that
hear
mental,
that
yeah,
mental could be, whew,
yeah,
it could be one of those things that you really. And I think a lot of women in this day and age who are going through so many different things, it's mental. It's
yes.
truly mental. It's a mindset, and the mind has to get right before you can physically see it.
We have to reset the program. And because that bruise will heal, like you said, but the memory of the bruise, the memory of the especially the
Yes,
manipulation and narcissistic abuse, we replay that again and again and again, and you can carry it forward into all of your other relationships as well. So
yes, you
that
do.
replay reinstalls that same program again and again and again, and it usually sounds something like, I'm not worthy in the first place. So you're doing things, right, physically to try to say, I am worthy. But if you have the program looping again and again that says, I'm not worthy, you're
Yeah,
starting from ground zero every time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So true. So true. The chat is really good. So it says true, so true. One of the greatest teaching of awakening. Yes. So since you're gonna go there, we're gonna talk about the return. So the return, you talked about activation and helping people unlock what's already inside them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What does that process look like for a woman who is just waking up for or to herself?
Well, waking up to herself is going to mean so many things. Now, what I basically focus on, I focus on everybody in general. So I tend to think of things that way only for that reason. And I realize we're narrowing down with good intention for women, and we need to. But for women, or for gender specific, um, for a gender specific situation, there are going to be different ways to come back to yourself. So what I usually do is bring people back into their higher knowledge, right?
Mm,
So I'm going to begin to activate. We'll start there and then we're going to pan out, okay? Or narrow down. We'll start there and then we'll narrow down. So think of everything in terms of frequency and vibration, number one. Okay, so to sort of like say that a different way, think of yourself using a radio and tuning into different stations, is a good way to put that. This is what's really going on. This is really what reality actually is. Okay, we are light and information, and we have uh, collaborated, if you will. We have co created and projected these bodies for each other to experience individually, but we're sparks of God. Okay. Science and spirituality are not separate like what we think they are. Okay. Many scientists really want to believe that. They're coming around. A lot of the big ones are coming around and they're admitting it publicly, if you guys haven't noticed. Okay. Yeah, they are. They are. And a lot of religious figures are also realizing that there is something else to what our reality is. It's not that there is not a God necessarily, although there are many different ways to say that, but it's not separate. We're not separate from each other. The beliefs are not so separate. So if you think of everything in terms of frequency and vibration, someone like me who is aware of everything all of the time, and I have certain DNA strands activated, but there's another way you can look at that. If we are fields of information and I am now conscious, and you can put yourself in my shoes, okay? I could be anybody. I am now conscious of certain information in my field, which is me, that we were not privy to. We don't get taught this information in schools. We tend to separate from each other and all other information. You know, we just have a rigid way of thinking. Well, that extra information in my field was cut off from me. All right. So once I'm aware of that information and I engage it, it engages me. My body feels it, my mind understands it. When I come into contact with somebody else, you perhaps, the information in my field is talking to the information in your field. The vibration, the frequency that I'm on, let's say that, is tuning in now to your frequency, and you're tuning into me. We're meeting somewhere. Now, we might not meet exactly on the same wavelength, okay? But we're meeting somewhere. Some of my information, right, which is me, which will hold ancient wisdom, and it's wisdom that you can also remember, but you also don't know you have it. You're going to start waking up to that. I wonder if I said that clearly enough. You're going to start to, in your body and in your mind, in your dreams, in your consciousness, in your knowing, begin to understand some of these things for yourself, because parts of you are going to wake up just by being around me and hearing my voice. And there are a lot of people like me around. You might be like me if you're listening to this, actually, and you don't have to know it. You don't have to know you're like this to be like this. So Petra, to come around from that more panned out way to put it, to narrow that down, for a woman to come back to herself, what does that mean? Well, it's to come back to the knowing of her purpose on a broad scale, which would be fertility and blooming, growing. You are in yourself an activator. You're a teacher, you're a nurturer, and it doesn't matter. There's all these different types of women. You don't have to be like the most whatever we call feminine woman, or you don't have to be straight. You don't have to be gay. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. This is about the feminine in you. Okay, you are just naturally going to do that no matter what else you're doing. And so to come back to that, it is a remembrance, the same way that you would perhaps be remembering an ancient life or remembering something else. To come back to that is just to remember. And it would be the same for the masculine, by the way. The masculine in his natural state, if you will, and especially in this, because he's advancing now. And this is wonderful for women to know. Whether or not you're interested in a relationship, none of that matters. But just for you to know what path they are going to be on. It is going to be startling to you how some of these men are going to wake up. And you might not think so because it looks crazy. right now. It's been looking crazy for some time. But they but they are also nurturers and protectors in their own way. We each have masculine and feminine in us anyway, but the masculine nurtures a different way. It's not the same way that we would so hands-on. They want to know they can be there to protect. They want to be able to provide and do these things naturally, not as some sort of competition or, not from fight or flight because they don't know if they're going to be able to keep their job and if they could afford everything. This is all fabricated programming, as a result of the last few thousand years of, people trying to control populations. This is false. This is not actually the definition of humanity. Yes, the masculine wants to protect, but it's not from force. It's not like Petra was talking about. It's not an arrangement. It is from love. It is from love. The same way a woman wants to nurture from love. There doesn't need to be an arrangement. Guess what? This planet is full of resources. We didn't need to be fighting and competing with each other over any resources, including love. There's enough to go around. If you
Yes,
really
it
think about
is.
it.
Yes, there
You
sure
know,
is.
yeah, it's all a game to keep us engaged and distracted, basically, you know? And so we won't get more into that. That's a whole other conversation.
I was just about to say.
That's another conversation, but yeah.
So yes. So I like this other question, right? I love how you're going into detail because a lot of times we give surface level answers, but sometimes people need a little bit more depth to really grasp the fullness of everything. So question. How does a woman begin to trust what she's hearing inside, especially when fear has been speaking louder for a long time? And I know you kind of touched on that a little bit. I know you did. Um, but sometimes, because I love teaching, right? Sometimes I use myself as an example a lot when it comes to questions like these. Because we are always being guided, we are always being talked to, nudged, and all that good stuff. And but fear, a lot of societal teaching told us to the outside of us speaks first.
Huh. Yeah.
So how does a person start to trust those little nudges?
Mm.
I know how, but I would love for you to tell us, how do you start trusting those little nudges that you get, that you intuitively you know it's guidance, but sometimes our fear and our ego plays with us and keeps us in the same position, telling us that we're going to change.
Well, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. The first thing you want to do to get to know yourself is spend time with yourself. And
Mm,
and that's difficult because you might be working a job, you might have children, or you might have projects. You have all these things that are very, very important, right? And that in itself is kind of crazy if you think about it, because you are the most important thing, right? Just like what you just said, Petra. But something outside of us always has to be more important, and that's not true, of course. So time with yourself, just loving yourself, is the single most efficient way to begin to trust yourself. So you might feel like you're isolating at first, especially if you have a lot of people around you all the time. But this isolation period is going to be important. It doesn't have to be a complete isolation, like for days at a time, or it could just be a few hours. It could be boundaries, setting boundaries with people who usually have instant access to you. So, wow. So we're going to get, and I didn't expect this, but we're going to get a little bit back into why it's important physically sometimes and energetically to have those boundaries. Because now we just talked about, and this may be new for some people, but not all, But we just talked about how we are a field of information. Now, just think of this as science. You don't have to think of this as a spiritual thing necessarily. This is being right now proven, all right, or theorized in a very clear way where the studies are becoming more repeatable. Okay, I just want to say that to you so you understand that it's safe for you to at least entertain this notion that we are fields of information. There is quantum activity happening in your field, and that is what is projecting out to create your reality. All right, so I just wanted to get back into that for this reason. So, when you put up an energetic boundary, the reason that's important is because before you did that, your field, which is you, this information was steady communicating back and forth, volleying information back and forth between you and another person. And you were likely not, like most of the planet, likely not conscious of that. So when you set the boundary, suddenly that communication comes to a halt. All right. Now you need to set it energetically. Physically is fine. That is going to help your mind rest to an extent. Okay. But people can contact you through space and time because we're really non-local. We're really all one. As okay, whatever that sounds like. And so that's why, especially if you'll understand this, if you have a child or an important sibling, somebody close to you, something can be happening with them and you can feel it. You might wake up out of your sleep and be like, what just, I know something just happened. This is not coincidence. All right. Now, this does have to do with the heart connection, of course, which is also an energetic connection. So it is spiritual also, but it's also science. You're also energetically running information, even when you're separate, back and forth from each other to a degree. So this is very important to talk about right now, just to really bring it home, just to really drive it home, how important it is to set a standard for yourself and set boundaries for other people lovingly. They can be temporary. Okay. I want to say that. You are not excommunicating people when you do that. You can always bring them back in. And guess what? They get to leave again. And another thing that wants to be said is they will eventually become used to this, even if someone is irate with you, enraged that you set this boundary, everybody. Listen, if they love you, and they likely do, maybe, maybe not, right? But for the most part, who we're talking about, we would be worried about are people that we love, obviously, right? And we believe love us. They will come to understand this. They will understand this. So, yes, I would start with boundaries and going inside, spending time with yourself, loving yourself. This is going to sound silly, taking yourself on a date. And it doesn't even have to be a goofy date or something out, whatever your idea of good is. Put your feet in the tub, soak your feet and watch a movie, or buy yourself some flowers, have them delivered to the house for you, from you to you.
Yeah.
Look really good. I saw this reel. It reminds me of this, Petra. It's called Wear the Damn Dress. It's a reel where this, I can't remember who did this, but she's just in the grocery store with a gown. It's like a bejeweled gown. And
Yes.
she's like,
I think I
do it.
saw
You
that.
never, she's like, you're never going to wear the dress. Just wear the dress, don't wear it anywhere. And this is the same idea. Once you start to do these things, this is going to send a signal to literally the physical cells in your body. Literally,
Yeah.
it starts with your field. You are a field of information, right? But this information translates into the physical body that you use, that you live through, you experience through. You experience joy through this body, right? Through the chemicals in your brain. That joy has probably been muted for years. When you begin to love yourself and you open up, right? And you open up, you're going to experience joy you didn't know was possible.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, you might have
Yeah.
known it was possible. I just want to include this. You might have known that this type of joy was possible with your connection to God. Yes, but what you didn't know was that you could also experience this joy in your connection to yourself because you are a spark of God. That's all part of this. That's all part of the same thing. when you can honor yourself like you honor your creator who made you, and like your creator honors you, right? Think of it that way. If your creator loves you the way that your creator loves you, and we won't get into the different beliefs about that. People believe different things about whether God can love the same way a human can and all that. But just suspend that for a moment, because that's neither here nor there in this conversation. But just think of it like, think of love like creation. Okay, let's just go there. If God, who you call God, let's say that's creator, I say creator, created you and put you here, that in itself is love. That's when you plant that seed in the flower pot and watch that beautiful flower bloom. That's not different. Okay? The only difference would be it's magnified, because it would be as if the flower was part of you. So you're part of the creator.
Right?
How can you not love yourself? You see, but we get tricked out of this. We get tricked out of this.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the key. Whew. That's the key. And that's why in this entire conversation, it's all about within. This entire conversation is within.
It really
Because
is.
it starts with you. You're made in the likeness and image of, and we all are one. So yeah, we come from that. So why not? And that's why I keep saying we got to learn to tap into us, the inner you. And one of those key things you say of setting boundaries, the one thing I'm gonna tell you, when you start setting boundaries, your body's gonna start to feel a little bit different.
Mm.
Your body's gonna be like, no, 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 let me not sound do this boundaries, because when you're accustomed setting, when you're accustomed just giving in to people and shrinking, when you start setting those boundaries, your body's accustomed to giving in already. So you have to retrain your mind, your body, and your spirit. It takes work, but it's worth it. It's worth. It takes. It's worth every bit of it. Let me tell you. In the beginning, it always starts off with a little bit of friction, but that friction is just for a moment. I'm loving where this conversation is going. It's already 47 minutes in. Could you believe that? Could you believe that?
Oh, it's
Okay,
fine.
so the spiritual bridge, the spiritual practical bridge. What is one simple practice someone can start today to reconnect with their inner knowing?
Well, it's the same conversation that we just had about going within, but you can take several steps. I would say meditation right away. Right away. It doesn't have to be a specific type of meditation. People are so afraid of this, and I understand it as an ADHD person, okay? And I'm saying that I'm understating it. Understate. I can't even believe I was on time today. I'm just going to tell you the truth. But so if your mind is like, very sporadic, or, you have trouble with what we would call a neurotypical mental processing. Oh, my camera's doing the thing. Okay. Well, we can stay zoomed in, but I knew my camera was going to do this. Hang on, Petra. All right. Let's see if it'll stay out. All right. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, if you have trouble with mental processing, you can still meditate. It's no problem. You would probably do a walking meditation. You could do physical activity. You could do a lot of different things.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
Meditation is going to be more about taking your focus away from what's happening outside yourself, and you'll pay attention to your thoughts. It's not to get rid of them, but it's sort of to get in a zone where your thoughts are not thinking you. Basically, you're observing your thoughts, you're able to calm your nervous system down, and you can get to a point where you feel like you can breathe again. And in that point, Sometimes it's very, very quick. It's I will call it for these purposes a 0 point, okay? And it
Mm-hmm.
can be really, really quick. But in that point is a point of creation. It's like a nexus point. So suddenly you're able to breathe and there are possibilities again. So you want to try to get to this, not try, but allow yourself to get to this point. Again, if you have trouble sitting for 15, 20 minutes in a meditation, walk on the treadmill, do some dishes, walk through your neighborhood, carefully with headphones though. Don't cross any major streets with your headphones
Yeah.
if you are trying to get into that state. But I would really say to do that first. Another way you would want to really get in touch with yourself is start to evaluate what is it that you really actually love versus what do other people like about you, or what is it you're used to? What do you actually love? And start literally make a list and start doing that list. Like a bucket list, one by one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? When it comes to, I was terrible at, at meditation, because sometimes when you want to do a thing, you think it has to be a particular type of way.
Hmm.
So don't beat yourself up about it. You can read a book and meditate. You can wash the dishes, I see, like you say, and meditate. And if you can start with 5 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day. The
Yeah.
key is the practice, not not because the end result is gonna come, but the key is the practice. So I love that. The closing. See, you try to be on time because I know I have like a whole bunch of extra questions. What do you want? What do you want the woman who feels lost right now to know?
Mm.
The one who found her way to the conversation for a reason. What would you want her to know?
Okay. The woman who feels lost. Well, you're not alone.
Key,
Key, you're
key.
not alone. Yeah. Um, that's a tough one. If you feel lost and you're led here, uh, so you're finding, yeah, I'm actually channeling, okay, the Arcturians to get this answered because that's a tough one when you feel like you don't have anyone who can guide you. When you feel like you understand there's something wrong, maybe in your personal situation, maybe in your relationship, but there's no one around you who can really who's on your level of understanding. Like they all want to keep you in the same box. That's often the case. So, here's what I'm getting. So, you are finding the answers already. Once again, if you made it here, you are actually your own guru, you're your own authority. And you are finding these answers within yourself. It's how you were led here. So keep finding your answers. Keep marching one foot in front of the other outside of that circle that can't really perhaps relate to you or understand or guide you, because it means that you have traversed that already. You are likely beyond the point where someone around you can tell you any better than your inner knowing, which we have spoken about you trusting. So the answers that you seek from within are going to appear to you without through different people naturally, organically. And it's what's happening right now. All right, start to journal. This feels specific for somebody, but start to journal about these answers. You don't have to call it journal, especially if you're not neurotypical, if you're like me. You don't have to call it journaling, but start to jot down, even in a brainstorming style, different random answers, let's call them, that you're getting. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a tapestry, you're going to have a story in front of you. And it's going to be the story of your life moving forward real fast. Okay. Yeah.
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 Well, that's my last question. I have many more, but I was like, you know what? I'm being very choosy because you're trying to make sure it's not too long for people and all that good stuff. And we started a little bit late because life is lifing.
Well, and now my camera's going wonky. So not that it matters, but do you see it moving all over the place? Oh my goodness. You guys, that is not supernatural. I have a camera that wants to zoom when it wants to zoom. Everybody, I'm sorry. I'm getting another camera again. Actually, I
Huh.
have one I have to learn how to use.
Oh gosh. So now that we all wrapped up, is there anything else that I this is a beautiful topic because I'm always talking about coming back home to yourself and that inner knowing. We always having these conversations in so many different ways. Um, is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up tonight?
Wow. Well, there's a really important thing that I want to say that it feels extremely important for some reason. So, this is another thing that it is specific to someone listening, but it is general for all of us. Remember that you're always going. So, you don't have to necessarily go and act, like, there doesn't have to be action. You're always expanding. We're always expanding. And for women, what that looks like is we don't have to only fit that role, right? You get to go to that dinner, you get to go on that vacation, you get to put your feet in the tub, you get to have an experience. Like, keep going, keep going. And when you feel like you're getting sluggish again, and you have that sort of numbness going on, or you have a pit in your stomach that something is wrong, it could go either way, okay? You could have a pit in your stomach as well. This is the time to go get something done, get some body work done, get a massage or get acupuncture, get some kind of way to get some fascia release. Move so the fascia is the tissue that covers our entire body, okay? It holds an electrical network, if you will. We're electrical beings. That's another conversation that we're just now learning about, by the way, as humans. At least in the Western world, okay? So
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
But you could also think of them as meridians. So if you go get Eastern, body work done or holistic work done, and you can do it for yourself. Get one of those fascia massagers. This is going to move emotions through your body, y'all. So really move the emotions through your body. And that pit in your stomach, literally take one of those. You can get it on the back of a back scrubber. When you take a shower, some of the scrubbers have little nodules on there. Really get in there on your tummy and really just move that around if you can, within reason. Get your legs, get under your arms, where your lymph nodes are. All of this stuff can move. This is going to move emotion. Ooh, Petra, one more thing that wants to be said, and I know we have to go. The lymph nodes, what we have known to carry certain diseases and certain things because it's carrying things out of our body, they are holding right now an insane amount of emotions because of the shift that's
Yes.
happening on the planet. There's literally a difference in the geomagnetic activity, and a lot of people don't know this because it's not being reported on the news the same way. It will be mentioned on the news very quickly now and again, the solar activity. So we won't get into it here, but it's not woo woo. Okay, you guys, this is actually happening. So it is affecting your body. And so for women, especially because we are holding all of this weight, literal water weight as well, because we are the birthers, okay, we have all of these hormones. Get into that fascia. Do not be afraid. It's going to move so many things. All right. It's going to let a lot of that fear go, let a lot of the fear
Mm.
fully being go. Wow, yeah, and that's coming up. We can't keep going, but that hit it too. So that's another thing that we might want to talk about next time is how to really let go of fear so that we can move out of the box that we've been in. That just, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's another topic.
it's
That's
another topic too.
another juicy topic because oh that's another juicy topic. That's all I can tell you. Because if we're going to talk about this topic right now, we're going to be here for another 2 hours.
Easy hour. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So thank you so much for thank you everyone in the chat. The chat was live tonight. So thank you everyone that came on. I
Thank
saw
you.
the information about, you know, the imagery. I don't know what is wrong with it. I'm sorry that you're not seeing it in the proper way. But we will be reposting this live on YouTube, so you get to have a beautiful view of it. And I will post clips of it on Instagram also. So, but you guys participated, and I thank you for being here tonight. I love talking to this lady because we always end up doing so much more, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for Yolanda, thank you for
Thank you for
being
having
here.
me.
You know, it's always not a thing, it's always everything once you show up. So everyone who's either going to seeing the live now or seeing the replay, go and follow Yolanda. She's awesome. She's Yolanda Marie
Thank
channel
you.
on YouTube. She's on Facebook. She's here on Insta. Um, she's such an inspiration to people. And and yeah, yeah. What
Thank
else
you
do you
so
have
much.
you have going on right now that we can support?
Well, right now it's YouTube is what's happening, but there will be other things happening via my website. So if you follow me on YouTube, you're going to start to see a lot more activity pretty soon with full length videos. I am posting a lot of messages via what's called YouTube Shorts. So they're the same reels that are on Instagram, and they're basically about this shift on the planet, and it's to keep everybody actually activated. So the message, the words say one thing, right? The words are like reporting on what's happening, and it's picking up on, perhaps what's going on in your life, but really underneath the words, behind the words are to support you, to support your field so that as this transition, which is also a physical transition, is happening, your frequency is able to shift with it and you can stay balanced. You can feel better. You can move a little bit more smoothly while the world is changing, everybody, because it is happening. Pretty soon, there will be full length videos again. So for me, that's like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 20. They're not long. Okay. I'm not necessarily, not that I don't like to be long winded because I do. So we might have some lives, but they'll be pretty short. But you can find me on Shorts there right now. And I am on Facebook, but yeah, just follow me on YouTube. That way you will know everything new that's happening. Okay. Especially if I'm going to start doing sessions, which I might start doing that again soon too, Petra. It's been like probably 2 years now, something crazy since I've done any sessions.
Yeah.
So
So
I'll be
yeah,
doing that
so
soon.
y'all, beautiful work. That's all I can tell you. Beautiful
Thank you.
work. So thank you guys for being here. This has been really good, really good, really good. I
I enjoyed
appreciate
it.
it. And so for me, you can follow me here on Instagram, on Facebook. What you see on Instagram, you see on Facebook. I have a little bit. I'm kind of doing a little more TikTok sometimes, but I'm really gonna build out my YouTube page also. And I have another podcast called Daughters of Themselves.
It's
We've been
good.
kind of busy. We created a full community called Daughters of Themselves, and this space is for women to truly come back to themselves without the titles, without the identity shifts, just to really tap back into your authentic origin. So yeah, we are doing a lot, but it's a lot of good things because, like I always tell people, I love working with women because I know my value, so I know yours.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
yes. So, Yolanda, thank you very much for being here. Don't go anywhere. Everybody else, you'll see me around this month. The theme on Instagram is rooted in boundaries. So I was so happy that you touched on boundaries today. So June, that's what we're talking about, boundaries, how to set boundaries, keep those boundaries, and not the boundaries just for everybody else, but the boundaries you set with you first.
Yes.
So don't forget the
Yes.
School Community Daughters of Themselves, Yolanda Marie channels on YouTube and Insta and all that good stuff. So thank you for the support.
It's just Yolanda Marie on YouTube. Just Yolanda Marie
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
same
yes,
picture. That's okay. Same
yes,
picture, but you can put at Yolanda Marie channels and find me anywhere. I think I'm the only one that's at Yolanda Marie channels. If you just search it,
yeah.
you'll find me that
So
way. But yeah.
there we are. So you all have a beautiful night and until next time. Later.